Hey folks, welcome to my review of Secto Rally Finland, and if you want to have a look at the bigger tales in terms of the stories of the event, you should check out yesterday's video, which I reviewed up to the Saturday point, because that goes into a bit more depth about what happened. Here we're going to have a look at the story of how that exceptional rally was won. We'll look at the support series, and then we'll look at two different headlines from the event. The story of how it's won was really who could keep it on the road. The first person to fall was Ogier, hitting a tree in stage 3. If you haven't seen it, he went wide into a ditch, rolled, and then the underside of the car hit a tree. I hope this co-driver, Martin Ogier, recovers. I haven't seen any further information about whether he was discharged from hospital. Then Katsuta hit a tree on stage 5, one of the kind of pre-event favourites to get a podium. And then Lappi on stage 6. On Saturday, it was Elfyn Evans having a turn of misfortune. The front right drive shaft went. And then on Sunday, it was Kalle Rovanperä. 2 stages left, not even 2 stages left, 200 metres and a stage left. Right to the end of stage 19, 200 metres left of the stage, he hits a rock on the inside line, and then he's sent off into the trees and retires. What that means is Sebastian Ogier, who was competitive throughout, but was well behind Rovanperä at this point, gets his second win in Rally Finland. His last one was in 2013. He wasn't even married at that point, let alone having the family that he spends so much time with now. The reason why he's a part-time driver. And it's his first Finland attempt in the Rally 1 era. Kalle Rovanperä's curse seems to continue. I mean, you could talk about commentators' curse. Everybody was like, he's set to win this one, and yet he still doesn't. But what I was fascinated by was that Ogier didn't push hard on the Sunday. He was 3rd in Super Sunday standings, but he only got 5th on the power stage. And for the guy who's been known as the master of the power stage, how many power stage wins has he had since it was introduced in 2011? To only get 1 point from it is a bit strange, but I'll get onto it in a moment. In WRC2, Oliver Solberg gave his title bid a much-needed boost after he held off a fast-charging Jari-Matti Latvala to win by 39 seconds. Larry Una rounded out the WRC2 podium with Mika Heikkilä and Jörg Linnemay. The next car to WRC2 was Grierson, who was 9th overall in the event, I must add, was not competing for WRC2 points. In WRC3, Jesse Kallio won by 37.2 seconds from Taylor Gill, who held off Ali Turkan by 2.1 seconds after the Turkish driver incurred a 10-second time penalty. Karim Pizzazz was the next highest non-JWRC driver after Jesse Kallio. But JWRC is really where there's a fascinating story. It's mathematically a 13-way title battle. If you looked at the points and the kind of points that you could get for an event and every stage win, you'd expect it possibly to be about 40 points, 25 for the win and then 15 stages in Greece, but it's double points. So 80 points are on offer to anybody who competed in all 4 rounds so far. So anybody who competed in any of the 4 rounds so far is technically in contention, because Robert Jurgensen is only on 72 points. Lots of stage wins, but outside the top 10 in the JWRC because he went off the road on Friday. And it's been a similar thing in Sardinia as well. I think it was 5 stage wins, but was out on the Friday as well. So it's just meant there's been no dominating driver over the course of the season. That's been the first factor for why it's so open. The second one is because the supporting cast around Robert Jurgensen are people who either have peaks and will win, but not in every event, or will be consistently 4th or 5th or 6th, and so have built up a nice haul of points over the course of the season. And I think that's awesome. You don't really see that kind of thing in an FIA series, even one with shorter numbers of rounds and shorter calendar. But let's bring it back to Ogier, because Ogier is looking set. I know Durfish said he is set to compete in the rest of the season. But he's not too happy about it, by the sounds of things, either. He complained at the end of the event about the point system. He seems to be set to compete in the remainder of the season because he's Toyota's lead title challenger after Evans got a full non-score. He crashed out 200 metres into, I think, the penultimate stage today as well. But he has strong criticisms about the system and claimed he even made him reluctant to see that season out. Ogier has often been the target of complaints because he was the guy who dominated the power stage, as I mentioned earlier. But I would argue he has a point when it comes to the lobbying for the return to last year's point system. And I wonder if he's done the maths here, because according to my calculations, Ogier is currently 27 points behind Thierry Neuville. If we used last season's point system, it would be less. Now you might think, okay, 27, he might be like 5 or 10 points closer. The gap would be 3 points. If we use 2011's, which he won 4 of his 8 titles under with Volkswagen, he'd be leading Neuville by 4 points. And heck, if we removed the power stage entirely and just focused on the finish, used the 2010 system, Ogier would have an 18-point lead over Thierry Neuville. And Neuville would be tied for second with Elfyn Evans. And that's even though Ogier has missed 3 rounds. 2 from not wanting to do Sweden or the Safari, and the third one for the injury during the recce in Poland. But at the end of the day, what I would say is the drivers and the teams are playing to the rules. Ogier doesn't want to play by these rules, and that's fair. He's got nothing else to prove. If he wins the 9th, he ties with Loeb, amazing. But he doesn't have to win the 9th. He doesn't feel like he absolutely has to win the 9th. But it's the game that Neuville is playing. It's the game that Hyundai's playing, which is funny because Neuville's complaining about Toyota bringing 5 drivers to Finland and 4 drivers to Latvia and having part-time drivers. This is a technique that Hyundai brought back to the WRC, one that we didn't see for about a decade before Hyundai brought it back in, from the heydays of Peugeot and Citroën bringing 3 or 4 cars to an event, and those best 2 counted towards their manufacturers. But let's end on a positive note, and Sami Pajari's debut. His top flight debut shows he's deserving of more entries, much like Martin Sesk's had over the last 2 events. Despite being 40 seconds off the podium, and isn't as impressive as now podium 4 for Formo this season, he posted numerous fast times, got the stage win. Whilst he did make mistakes, and that stage 2 one did prove costly, he's performed well under tricky conditions and managed to be the second fastest Toyota over the course of the weekend. Although it is that he's the only Toyota to have made it to the end of the event without having to super rally, the only person who's better than him is Seb Ogier. What you could argue is that this justifies the FIA's attempts to try and converge FIA categories like Rally 1 and Rally 2 earlier this season, and try to make that more affordable and accessible class with more entries around. You could make that case. Because now we've had 2 people step up. 2 people who were deserving, in my opinion, of that top class ride. And whilst they are doing amazing things in WRC2, and WRC2 should get more coverage, you could make the case that they should just be in the top flight. And the same for Oliver Solberg. And the same for Gus Greensmith. And the same in some events for people like Lauri Juna. You could say the same for Nikolai Kryazhin. You could say the same for someone like Johan Russell. You could say the same for Solons. You could say the same for most of the WRC2 runners. But those are my thoughts. Those are my main thoughts for the event. And I haven't even been able to talk about some amazing things like Jari-Matti Latvala finishing only 1 place lower this season than last season, given the last season he was in a Rally 1 car and this season he's in a Rally 2 car. So let me know yours in the comment section down below, your kind of thoughts and reflections. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.